It's no surprise that anime movies have been doing pretty well at the box office recently, especially here overseas. In that success, however, I've noticed a startling trend that a lot of anime movies are falling into, which is what I'll be talking about in this video. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty of it all, let me break down what I consider to be the 4 categories of anime movies. Original, movies that are a brand new story or project like Suzume, Weathering with You, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, etc. Adaptation, movies that adapt a pre-existing story as a feature-length film, something like Howl's Moving Castle, A Silent Voice, or Look Back. Spin-off, movies that are based on a pre-existing story but have no real effect on the main plot, think My Hero Academia, Spy Family, Dragon Ball, etc. And compilation, movies that are purely a compilation of pre-existing anime episodes for the sake of putting them in theaters, think Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan, etc. Obviously, these categories are pretty broad, and some movies fit multiple categories, but I'll get to that as we go on. The startling trend I referred to a second ago was a massive influx in that 4th category of compilation films, and I think I can pinpoint exactly when it started. Snap back with me to 2022. Ufotable is getting ready to announce some news on Demon Slayer's Swordsmith Village arc, and what do we get? Another movie? Demon Slayer to the Swordsmith Village was announced for early 2023 and was going to be a compilation of episodes 10 and 11 of Season 2, as well as the first episode of Season 3. Now, this was met with some, well, actually a lot of excitement, since Season 2, Episode 10 was highly regarded as the best episode so far, so getting to see it in the theater would be really cool, plus a sneak preview at the new season, too. That compilation movie came and went, and it did kind of alright at the box office, and then just faded away into obscurity. Then the following December rolled around and Ufotable did the same thing, this time with Demon Slayer to the Hashira Training coming to theaters in early 2024. Everyone kind of rolled their eyes and said, sure, I'll go see it because the episodes were good, but that movie also came and went, but without much fanfare this time. What does that have to do with anything? Well, this has kicked off a trend I'd like to call the comp virus. Ever since Demon Slayer started doing these one-off compilation films, it feels like every anime is getting them now. Bocce the Rock just had a recap film run in Japan that actually did pretty well despite having no new content, just recapping and splicing together Season 1 of the anime. Kaiju number 8 has a compilation film coming that promises to recap Season 1 of the anime and add a new original episode about Vice Captain Hoshino. Jujutsu Kaisen is getting its own compilation film specifically for the Hidden Inventory and Premature Death arc. Attack on Titan: The Last Attack, which combines the last 2 episodes of the anime into one feature-length movie, is releasing in Japan this November, and will have some subtle changes to it, including some revised cuts. And even Solo Leveling is getting a recap film in December that covers the first season of the anime and shows the first 2 episodes of Season 2. Now, there's all of those, and I'm sure a bunch more that'll be announced in the future, and this is one of the main issues I wanted to talk about in this video. As much as I love Demon Slayer, I do feel like the success of those compilation movies has led to this negative outcome of every anime also getting a compilation movie just to bring in a little extra profit for minimal effort. And it's not like these movies get a physical release either. They're literally just crafted for theaters, and at a time when theaters are already too expensive, it just doesn't seem worth it. Things are a bit different in the case of Kaiju number 8, which is adding some original content, but most of the others aren't doing that. Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan are just editing episodes together that have already aired, and Solo Leveling is just giving us a preview at episodes that'll be out roughly a month later anyway. I'm not gonna give Demon Slayer a pass either. I don't think those movies were necessary at all, but given the success of Mugen Train, I can't blame Ufotable for wanting to try and replicate that. I want to feel like the experience is worth it when I go to the theater, and these compilation films just don't fit that for me personally. Are there a ton of Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen fans who will show up? Of course, just like I did for Demon Slayer, and that's the core audience they're targeting. I just feel like the market is really oversaturated in that aspect. Another point I want to cover is another negative trend that, unfortunately, Demon Slayer also kicked off, that being adapting canon content as movies. There are plenty of cases where a manga gets adapted into a feature-length movie, like I mentioned earlier, A Silent Voice or Look Back, but these aren't the types of adaptations I'm talking about. What I am referring to is something like the Mugen Train arc, the upcoming Chainsaw Man movie, or even the Bunny Girl Senpai movies. Mugen Train did massive box office numbers back in 2020 and 2021, especially considering the state of the world at that time, so now a whole bunch of studios are attempting to jump on that bandwagon. I think the Mugen Train arc is probably the most successful at this because after having an incredible theater run, they not only released the movie as a Blu-ray, but they also chopped up the movie into episodes and then aired them like normal. This meant that you didn't have to go and find the movie somewhere before watching the Entertainment District arc. Now, personally, I still think the movie is the best way to experience Mugen Train, but that's besides the point. And I honestly expect Ufotable to do the same with the Infinity Castle arc when it's all said and done, then go into the final arc as a normal TV season. Something that frustrates me is when a movie becomes required watching because they don't always get the same level of distribution that the main series does. Take Bunny Girl Senpai, for example. The anime had a really great first season, but everything after that, at least at the time of recording, got adapted as movies. Honestly, this works out great if it's done correctly. The way this series is structured makes it very easy for a feature-length movie to focus on one arc and then move on. Plus, you can capitalize on the fans who are caught up who will then go see it in theaters. The problem comes in when you don't distribute these movies anywhere after the fact. If someone started watching Bunny Girl Senpai today, they'd have no way of continuing the story since these movies are required watching. I assume the movies will become more accessible soon since the anime is starting back up, but you never can truly know. I still haven't seen the first movie since it's not available anywhere officially, so the only option is to pirate, which I also don't want to do. I don't have a problem with adapting canon story content as movies so long as you make it accessible later on down the line. Another series that I think did this well in a very similar vein to Demon Slayer was Kaguya-sama Love is War. After season 3 of the anime, they ended up doing a movie for the First Kiss That Never Ends arc, and I think that worked out really well because that arc is just short enough that you could fit it into a feature film and still tell the entire story in that more condensed and concentrated format. The movie had its theatrical run in Japan around Christmas time, and then it hit the US here in February, right around Valentine's Day, and then not even like 2 months later, it was on Crunchyroll for everyone to watch. Now, granted, it wasn't dubbed yet, it was just subbed, but the fact that it's there still speaks volumes, because if you didn't make it to the, 3 days it was in the theaters in the US, well, there you go, now you can watch it whenever you want on Crunchyroll. And on top of that, you can go on the Crunchyroll store, I'm not sponsored, by the way, but you can go on the Crunchyroll store and buy the Blu-ray for this movie, and I think this is how distribution of these movies should go. There's no issue with adapting this arc of the manga as a movie, so long as you make it publicly and officially available after the fact. But back to the original point around Mugen Train. Its success and the subsequent announcement of the Infinity Castle trilogy makes everyone question what other series is going to get that treatment. I watched it happen with My Hero before Season 8 got announced, because the amount of content left to adapt in the manga would fit in a movie, a lot of people speculated that that's the route Studio Bones was gonna go. Thankfully, it wasn't, but the fact that the conversation was even had just kind of blew my mind. I don't think every series has the ability to just turn random arcs into movies, and even Ufotable understands that with Demon Slayer. There's a reason that only Mugen Train and Infinity Castle are getting movie adaptations. It's because they best fit into the movie format, even with Infinity Castle being split across 3 movies. Would My Hero's final chapters spread well across a movie? I don't think so. Theoretically, yes, they could do it all in about 2.5 hours, but I don't think that's what would be best for the story. Which is another factor to consider, is a movie always the best way to convey the story? In Demon Slayer's case, yes, absolutely, but in My Hero's case, no. Horikoshi said himself in an interview that, however, nowadays, series like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen have movies focused on events that actually happened in the manga series. While that's fine and all, I personally prefer movies like the Dragon Ball ones that I enjoyed in the past, with original stories that only exist within those movies. And this is the exact sentiment that I was trying to get across in the video. I want to see more original stories in anime movies, ones like the My Hero Academia movies that focus on an original story with existing characters. I also really enjoy original movies like Suzume, Weathering with You, Princess Mononoke, or Promare, these incredibly creative movies that take full advantage of the animated medium and tell the story they want to tell. What I don't want to see is the anime film sphere become overrun by manga arc adaptations and compilation films, and while I don't think that'll happen, it is something to be cautious about. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the state of anime movies. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments, and I look forward to continuing the discussion. While you're down there, you can also feel free to subscribe and drop a like so that I know you like these more discussion type videos. And before I head out, I also want to give a special shout out to John Bass, Trevor, Maximum Effort Max, Sean Tige, Spectral TV, Amor12321, Zeke Shine, TC Indiana, Wiki Silence, Golden Era, and everyone else who's become a member and helped support me this month, since it all goes back into making videos just like this. If you're looking for something else to watch, you can check out one of the 2 videos on screen, or 8, maybe both. One being 5 incredible anime movies that I think you should watch, or this other video that the YouTube algorithm thinks that you'll like better.